Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Trey Ferg, the player coach. I'm here today to give you a little word of inspiration and see if we can go to a better place and see if we can get the ball rolling. I'm not here representing anybody but myself. I don't know if my words will help you. I don't know if my words will hurt you. I just want to share some things with you so you can take advantage of this year that we have left in 2024. A lot of things have been transpiring over the course of the last few years, and I'm just trying to help move the needle for someone who's in a space where they need to just move a little faster, just move one step at a time, or just get the moving. We've been sitting too long. It appears to be that way, and just hopefully as we go into the rest of the year, the second half of the year, and into our future, that we can at least start seeing some light in the future that we have while we are here, and we probably will remain here within the United States. Um, Again, my name is Trey Ferg. I want to welcome everybody. I thank everybody who has supported me, all of the channels over the years and months. Black Man Unfiltered, Miss Dee Dee, who's Lost in Translation, JT, What We Know Podcast, Single by Choices, Miss Evolution, Embrace the Grace, Wife School Podcast, Take Heed to the Message. If I missed you, I hope I remember you as we go out the show. Um, I met the premise of my show again is because, I've been meeting quite a few young people who have really just been, I would say, just afraid to take that leap of faith to start being a little selfish, thinking about their own personal accomplishments and personal gains and personal just achievements, whether it pertains to them individually, if they have a family, um, or just loved ones in general. If you want to, I guess move to a better space in your life, I believe now is the time. Um, the background is always going to speak to the message. So as you see these words passing through the screen, maybe you can identify with one and or a few, and they could be a part of your life. They could just be in a space that you're in right now, or someone very close to you. Um, again, so I don't know how many words it is, just quite a few as they pass through the screen. Just pick one or two out, or four or five out, and see how you can apply them, see how you can improve them uh, to help you and, again, those that you love, just to, you know, giddy up on down the road, because we all got getting older, not younger. Um, so with that, I'm going to continue to move on. Please don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe button again at Trey Ferg, the player coach. The like, share, subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. And we move into our next scene. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The sun is rising for you. It's your time. The sun is rising. Maybe you're in a space right now where you're just not quite sure yourself. Your life is a mess. Uh, you, I guess you're questioning your faith and belief in God. Um, I don't come to you to preach a word to you, um, but some of the words I speak will be hopefully just part of what you already know and how you want to, just prepare yourself and to be the best version of you can be. uh, as you move forward. We all are going to have a birthday this year. We all going to have a birthday. So each year, we hope to get wiser, stay a little fitter, eat healthier, put down some of our vices, you know, love some of our loved ones better, just quite a few things. Get that new job you like. Uh, it's really up to you right now, you know, regardless of where you feel you are in life, you know, you always have an opportunity each day that the sun rises in your life. Each day the sun rises, you have another opportunity to be better, to walk better, talk better, think better, just everything within your life. Remember, you all have to start from somewhere. I had to do it. My grandparents had to do it. My parents had to do it. The children have to do it. My siblings have to do it. My friends have to do it. My coworkers have to do it. Each and every one of us have to be willing to step out on our faith, on our own courage, and move to be in a better space. It's one thing when we 20, when we 17, 18, we coming out of high school and we like, yeah, I can't wait till I turn 21 and get grown and do all of these things. But once the time gets there, who's brave enough to step outside of that comfort zone? Who's brave enough to go to a place of unfamiliarity? Who's brave enough? Who? It has to be you at this time. Again, maybe you feel like things are too bad, but you have someone that you can provide some positive energy to. You have someone, maybe it's your own child, maybe it's a niece, a nephew, a little young man, young lady you see on the block, you know their mom. We all have an opportunity to move to a better space in our own lives, you know. And again, I don't come to you representing any religion. I just come to you as a man, a regular old light skinned, bald head, gray haired man who's had a few experiences in life, who's appreciated all of the experiences in my life, whether good or bad, up or down, in and out, around, over, all of those great prepositional phrases. This is what life is about. And you just must know that there's someone who's always rooting for you. Always, regardless of your past failures, your past traumas, your disappointments in others. All of those things don't matter. They don't matter. Each day you wake up, you survived it. You survived it. There's no disqualifications or qualifications needed. Remember that. There's no disqualifications or qualifications needed. There's no prerequisites. You just have to believe that you're good enough. You have to believe that you're smart enough. Some of y'all might question this one. You have to believe that you're nice enough. You have to believe those things. That you're good enough, you're smart enough, because you can figure things out. And you're nice enough. You treat people nice. Hopefully you do. All the time, regardless of how they treat you. But you must understand your limitations. Nobody gets to walk over you. The ground is made for walking. Unless you want to lay on the ground for the rest of your life, then nobody gets to walk over you. You are the one that can help yourself rise, and you will be the one, just like me, keep myself from falling. So it's a difference. You help yourself rise or you keep yourself from falling. So either way, it's in your hands. The sun will be rising for a whole new day. And you rose for a reason. I don't know what your particular reason is for rising, but you rose for a reason. You just have to believe that you can rise. You have to. You have to. Because that's part of your faith. And if you're questioning it, that means you're not acting on it. You're standing still. While the sun is rising, you're standing still. So I just hope I can put a word in your ear to help you just start walking. Start walking in the direction that you want to go. Don't be afraid to walk. So if you have some ambitions, some goals, now this is a tricky part. To get those ambitions, you talk about it to yourself. You probably tell your friends. You probably write them down. But you're still lacking something. You can't figure it out. You're struggling. You're questioning yourself. What is it? I do all of this stuff and I still can't make it happen. I do all of this for everybody else and it still ain't happening. Well, it's part of the title. Who's willing to take a chance on themselves? Who's willing to? It could probably be one of the most scariest things you've ever done, which I can understand. You might believe nobody's there to support you. But then you ask yourself right now, who is there to support you? If things go haywire, if you woke up tomorrow, you had nothing, no place to eat, no place to sleep, who's going to help you? Now this ain't for, I would say if you've already given up. No, go get some help. Talk to somebody that can, put a little fire up under you because you still got a chance for yourself, despite what others say or think or whatever. You can't think about how other people push their own opinions on you. You can't do that. Because that will keep you in a bad place for a very long time. And I've been saying this for a while. If you're a young adult in your early 20s, you can't sit around listening to grumpy 35, 40-year-olds. You can't do it. It'll kill your spirit. You have to step back, focusing on yourself a little bit more. Like I said, it's summertime. Well, it's still spring, but we're going into summer. Great time to change a little bit of something. Not a lot, just a little bit. Even if you don't want to do it for yourself, those that love you unconditionally. But what we can't do going into our future is stand still. We see a lot of what's going on, and we ask, well, how can they do that? Are you standing still, or are you moving forward? How can all of these people come over here and get all of this? Are you standing still, or are you moving forward? That's the trick. Are you standing still? Are you moving forward? Because again, your sun is still rising. Your sun is still rising. I know sometimes you gotten out there and got your toes all the way to the edge. You're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then In football, it's what we call the butterflies. You just get the butterflies. Your stomach, it gets the bubbling, tingling. That's normal. Because when we play sports right before the game, it's normal to get the butterflies, whether you're playing a contact sport or whether you're playing basketball, which is slightly a contact sport, or even if you're running track or you're just competing against other people and running up the track, thinking it to yourself. You get the butterflies. That's normal. That's normal. That should give you a little bit more energy. That should make you a little bit more urgent to get there. So you can't be afraid right now. Now is not the time to be afraid. And if you are, it's okay to say, you know what? I'm afraid. I'm afraid to jump. And that's perfectly fine to say that. But are you still moving? Are you moving forward? Are you looking at the things that are in your life currently and you saying to yourself, why is this a mess? But then every day you see the sun rising and you stand still. You don't have to do everything in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. Sometimes when it requires us to move, it may take 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years. As long as you're moving, you just break it up in 4-year cycles. From 20, by the time I'm 24, there's things I have to do. We seem to focus on money so much, but you got to put in the steps. You got to take those steps and put in the work. YouTube is a great place for you to start, but however, if you want to, let me see how I can say this. YouTube is a good place to talk about it, but when you turn that camera off and you face with your real life again, it's time to move on it. Remember, I'm getting old. Sometimes I don't believe it. I don't want to believe it. But, 56 years old, it's starting to look. I can see it in my face. See it in my cheekbones. My head, that's bone, so it ain't gonna do nothing. That's always gonna be smooth. My muscle mass is leaving. Although I got a little bit I can work with still, but it's 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 it's, it's fading away. I hope I can outlast it, but at the same time, I'm trying to maintain it. So just think about a time in your life when you felt like you was loved and accepted. Just think about one of those times. How did it make you feel? Did you feel good about it? What about the people that were involved? Was it mom, dad, auntie, grandmama, big mama, as we used to call it, a cousin, their favorite uncle who may not be with us anymore? But every night you go to sleep, you dream about it. You have a spirit like, man, that's because something is telling you to move. And when you stand still, it bothers you. It gets into your soul, it gets into your spirit. It breaks a lot of things down over the course of time. You may not see it happening at 24, 25, but at 28, 29, it starts to affect you. You're not motivated. You don't have the energy like you used to. You're mad at everybody and everything. Well, that I can say that that's normal for that situation and condition that you're in, but you also have to understand that there's a flip side to that. And if you can step outside of your comfort zone just for a little while. Try it 3 days a week, meaning the things that you believe in your life that you're lacking. We got YouTube now. We got all the free learning tools you can get right here on YouTube. Just type it in, see what comes up. Don't worry about the color of the person. Don't worry about how they look. Don't worry about that. You worry about the message that they're giving you. And if you can apply it, why not try it? If you can't, click on to the next one. You don't have to look at everything like, oh, I don't want to, that don't work. If you haven't tried it, you can't knock it. You can't knock it. Just like people that don't try certain foods and say, oh, it's nasty. How do they know? How do they know? Are they lying, saying, instead of saying, I tried it once, but I didn't like it? Or are they just saying it's nasty based off fear, what someone else said? Being naive? It happens. But if you're in a space where you're looking to enhance where you are, move to a higher level, see new things, I say persons, places, and things. If you're looking to move to a better apartment, if you're looking to buy a house, buy a car, buy some food, you have to be willing to take the leap. You have to. You have to be willing to take the leap. We're seeing everything that's going on around us. If you young, 21, 31, now is your greatest opportunity. Now is the greatest time right now in the history of America, specifically African Americans in America. Now is your greatest time. You cannot afford to sit back and watch these things move around you and you stand still. You cannot do it. You're not going to be able to take everybody with you. You're not going to do it. You can't do it. You have to sort of be selfish-ish. Not that you can't love and support them, but you have to be willing to step outside of that comfort zone. You have to be willing to face the mountain. You have to. And as you sit there on the edge of that bank, you contemplating, should I do it? I don't want to do it. It's too hard. And the longer you sit there, the more you talk yourself out of it. Has anybody ever got to the edge and decided not to do it? Listen, I know I don't like roller coasters. I'm not going to get in no roller coaster line and wait an hour and a half and 2 hours and get there and say, I don't like it. I tried it when I was a kid. The roller coaster I was on, every time it made a right turn, well, a left turn, it went up on 2 wheels. I knew then roller coasters wasn't for me. I can do a Ferris wheel, but a roller coaster, I'll settle for the kiddie rides, the old folk rides. I can find more excitement in doing other things than just riding a roller coaster. So, but here you are, facing the mountain. And you can think about it every day, but the mountain ain't gonna move. The mountain ain't gonna move. And now you're going to have to ask yourself a question. Do you accept yourself? Do you find yourself giving up on something, screwing up? Feel like you need somebody to be kind to you? You asking God for some grace to show you some love? We all get to that point. Some sooner than others, some later in life. You know, I call the age of reasoning, I give it, just say 37. Sometime 37 for women and maybe 37 after 35, between 38, maybe 37 to 40 for men. It's the same psychological cycle. We all seem to come to that age of reasoning. If you look back at all of our sort of leaders who were identified as our leaders, whether it was within the, I would say, the social political realm, especially in the, since, I don't know, since any, I can look at anybody who was trying to say, hey, we can be better and we expect to be better. All of those good people are no longer here with us today. Most, from what I can remember, were all taken from us before the age of 40, the age of wisdom, the age of reason. We spent at least the last 30 years making 40 the new 20. You can't be 40 and 20 at the same time. You can't do it physically. Mentally, you can probably think that way, but physically, it shows. It shows. And if you're not afraid, then you can recognize it, and then you can start moving forward to start accomplishing your goals and facing that big mountain in front of you. It's not ever going to move, and it's going to stay there until you face it head on. And you have to take a real hard, good look at yourself and not be afraid. You can't be afraid. If you want to try something new, what's the worst that can happen if you don't succeed? You'll understand that you didn't succeed. And then you can get a chance to go back and see where you made your mistakes. And for God be it, you never go back and make those same mistakes again. You can make one mistake. You can make two. We'll even give you three. I know somebody who has 3 felonies. And guess what? Now they have a master's degree. They were actually the manager of the city that they used to get locked up in. The manager from 3 felonies. If it ain't moving, I don't know what is. It took some time, a couple of years, about the same years that it would take to go to college or join the military. You can do 4 years in the military, you can do 4 years in college. But as long as you move, as long as you move, if you have 2 good arms, 2 good hands, pair of hands, 2 good legs, 1 strong back, some broad shoulders, a big tank head like me, you're strong enough to do it. You're strong enough. Just can't be afraid. You just can't be afraid. You have to be willing to make a move. You can't punish yourself. You've already seen that. You've already felt that. You already felt what it looked like. Well, excuse me, you already know what it feels like to be hurt, to be let down. You know all of that. You can probably talk about that for 2 years. You know that. But what does it feel like to be successful? You know what that feels like? And I'm not saying it has to do anything with money. When you put in the work, and that can be physically, mentally, emotionally. And I'm probably missing one more, but if you put in the work, it'll all change for you when the time is right. When the time is right. Some of my old school people, I don't know if y'all ever played, what is that, Mother May I? It was an old school game we used to play. You had one person, maybe, I don't know, we used to think it was a mile away, but probably 200 feet, if that. And a bunch of kids be lined up, even some big kids. And you would start at the line, you started the same line. And then everybody will go down, Mother May I, and somebody will say something. May I take 2 giant steps? And she'll say yes. And then the next person, may I take 4 baby steps? She'll say no. And for some reason, we got more upset at the baby steps than we did the big steps. But if you apply it to your life today as an adult, if you take those baby steps, you'll be prepared for the big steps. That's the thing. The baby steps are very important. Are very important. You can't just look at everything and say, ooh, I want to take a big giant step. No, you may not be prepared for it. You don't want to see what's coming if you miss out on certain steps in between. That's a very, very bad place to find yourself in. But it goes back to those baby steps. But as long as you stepping, that's the thing. As long as you stepping, every day you can take a step forward. Hell, every hour, every minute you can take a step forward. And each step you take and you get to a dead end, take them 1 or 2 steps back, assess the situation differently. Don't be afraid to say, you know what? I need help. Let me connect to somebody who may know what I need. And then when you ask politely, only listen to the information. Don't worry about how it comes out of their mouth. The person you coming to talk to may have a toothache and he ain't feeling well, but he's willing to help, or she's willing to help. They might have sprained their ankle. You don't know. But it's in them to help you. So you cannot be afraid to ask for help. Don't just don't ever feel like you can't get any help, because that always puts you in a bad space. Over time, remember, as time progresses, if you continue to stand still, you continue to be in the way of others coming behind you. And that can be our children, our relatives, anyone who we may have an impact on. Because if you want others to sort of, it's like we're great with planning. We'll plan something out. We'll write it down. Oh my God, women that write down 3 pages of what they plan. And then the day comes. And all of a sudden they can't find the plan. What do I do with the plan? And they can't recall what to do because they never took the steps as they was writing the plan. Guys, sometimes we don't write it down. We just going with it. We just going. And there's nothing wrong with that sometimes. But sometimes we still have to write it down and plan it out. It's just part of what we have to do. You see the mountain. You sitting there. What am I going to do next? You just can't be afraid to step out. Can't be afraid. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like, share, subscribe button at Trey Ferg at the Player Coach. The like, share, subscribe button at Trey Ferg at the Player Coach. And back to the mountain. Good Lord, what am I going to do with this mountain? I don't know if any of you all know a lot about mountains, but mountains, they say they thousands of years old. And there's layers and upon layer of this big old rock. And the higher you go up on that mountain, you can see the snow cap here. It's the weather changes. Starts to get a lot colder. The wind gets to howling. The jacket you bought wasn't thick enough. The boots you wore are all wet now, and you're getting blisters on your feet. It's starting to snow on you. You don't have enough food. You don't have enough water. What do you do at that point? You turn back? Or do you buckle down for a moment, just a small moment? You ain't got to sit there, but you do have to settle down, gather your thoughts, let your clothes dry. Recoup your thoughts, go back over your plans, read back over them, see how you can improvise. You had a plan going, and all of a sudden you got to a place where you had to stop. It wasn't your fault that you had to stop. The conditions of the environment forced you to stop. And how can we take that off the mountain? Sometimes the conditions of our own environment forces us to stop. So you have to give yourself some grace. You have to be willing to understand that everything is not going to go the way you plan. Every time you plan something, you may have to call what we have a backup plan or 2 backup plans. Just like me with this YouTube. Every time I tried to stream it, the system, I don't know, it would kick off or something. I checked my internet was working fine. This stream was supposed to be, what, a few hours ago. I could have stopped. I could have got frustrated. I could have got mad and give up. But I wouldn't have been able to rest well. It's just been a part of me most of my life. You know, when I didn't accomplish things that I wanted to, it sort of upset me. And I didn't recognize, it took me a while to recognize. I was probably late 20s when I recognized it. And I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to do something different. That's exact, and it's funny because I was in the military. I got hurt. I wanted to be one of those all you can be soldiers. I went to college out of high school, got hurt, took my scholarship. I didn't want to take out a student loan, and we talk about student loans all the time. I didn't want to pay $1,000, so I dropped out. I didn't tell my parents. I went back home. I didn't expect my parents to do anything. My mama said I can come home as long as I'm working. Cool. Found me a job working at Target overnight. What was I? 20? Oh yeah, I believe I was 20 going on 21, working overnights. I realized then that that wasn't for me. It took me to get to that space to realize that that wasn't for me. I said, there's no way that I can be pushing a vacuum cleaner, a broom, a duster, and one of those floor cleaners all my life. There's no way that I could do anything similar to this. So I mowed around for a couple months, found me another job. I said, I'm gonna try the restaurant industry. I don't care what position they give me. Okay, cool. Got me a job working, I think it was Old Charlie's. I wanted to be a dishwasher. Well, I didn't want to. It was a job was open. I'm like, okay, I can work hard. I know how to do stuff. Until one day, the supervisor was like, we got to go pick up cigarette butts in the rain. Who? I don't smoke. I'm not picking up nobody's cigarette butts. That's part of your job. No, it's not. We walked around outside. I held the umbrella and he picked up the damn cigarette butts. That day, I realized none of that job was for me. Nothing about the restaurant industry was for me. When my shift ended, I went home. I showed up again on payday to get my check. That was it. Case closed. How I get to the military? Had a friend, good friend. He had joined the military, but I didn't know he had joined because he was trying to evade them people. And the way it worked was he had signed up. He had actually gone to basic training. He was in basic training. So now it's my turn to go. I'm on the plane ready to leave. They asked that someone they called my name, said somebody wanted to see me outside. I'm like, oh my God. Is it the police? Is it my mama? What I do? I couldn't think of it. So when I get outside the plane, it's him. I see him, I greet him, we hug. Oh man. He had came home because whatever happened, whatever he did before he went, they sort of sent out these warrants and stuff. And so, but he was in the military. So, but the military still allowed him to come back home and figure out what's going on. And when he came back to the military, they asked him what was going on. The military has this truth thing. So if you do something stupid, if you just admit, you know what, I messed up, yeah, it can't be nothing egregious or nothing. You know, you can't be going out and deleting nobody or, you know, committing armed robberies or nothing like that, you know, or graping nobody. You can't do nothing egregious. But some things they will forgive. They don't care if you smoked weed before, if you drank too much before, because guess what? They gonna put you in no service. As soon as they recognize it, somebody gonna sign you up for it anyway. And they gonna still give you a chance to be better. And some of the best soldiers ever have come from the worst conditions. So anyway, this person, they called me, tell me what's going on, went back to the CO. CO asked him, he kept saying no. He kept saying no. So what happened? The Army had to let him go. He had orders to go overseas, everything. Now, granted, I went in late June. So when I'm in basic training, the Gulf War kicks off. I'm like, oh my God, I just came for the college fund. I didn't come for no war. But again, the war happened. I went through my basic training, finished that up. finished up the AIT. That's the job that you learn while you're in the service, or whatever you get to your regular duty station. That's what you'll be doing, the type of unit you'll be with. So I did that. Less than 30 days later, I was running along the Persian Gulf with my unit. Shout out to the 21st replacement out of Fort Hood, Texas. Running PT along the Persian Gulf in the sand, in our boots, in our uniform. We had a PT uniform because we was allowed to take that. No, we had our tennis shoes on. We didn't have our uniforms on. You're right. We had a whole PT uniform on. And we was running along pretty good pace, Probably about 30 of us. Like, again, it was a small unit. If you ever been to Fort Hood, 21st Replacement was one of the first places you'll see when you come to base. They'll house you for a few days, feed you, till your unit come and pick you up. If your unit is in the field, you'll stay there till somebody come and get you. Typically when they get back from the field, because ain't nothing you can do going out to the field. Or some will come and get you. They'll give you one night's rest, and they'll come and get you in the morning and take you to the field, and you'll be a field soldier your first day, because you've already been trained in basic training on how to live and survive in the field. You'll go out there and play all the Army you want. All the Army you want. You'll love all the bugs and gnats and bees and flies and ants and ticks, all that. All that's waiting on you when you get out there. They used to have this little off spray. It's real strong too. Real strong. Ooh-wee. I used to spray it in my tent every night before I went to bed. I had Ranger buddies. You got to set rules. Set rules. No stinky feet. None of that. I mean, take a bath every day. Wash your butt. Well, shower. You're going to take a little regular, it might be a 5-gallon bucket. You just pour it on your room temperature and wash and dry in the middle of the woods. So, it's just part of the training. Nothing special. And the whole time I was in the Gulf War, I was getting paid, no taxes taken out, and I was getting hazardous duty pay. I thought I was the man. And when we went to the desert out there at where were we at? We was in Riyadh, but we was right outside the city, and it was beautiful. They had marble buildings, and the citizens didn't live in these spaces. We had a Olympic facility for athletes. They had I think it was a 3/4 mile track. That's how big it was. They had a boxing ring, a Olympic-sized pool, I don't know, 15 basketball courts, weight room, state of the art. It was a few other rooms. I didn't get to see all of them, but it was just out in the middle of the desert with no buildings around, no nothing. Everything that was there outside of that building was military. There was a male unit, couple of male units. I was stationed it was in a compound with male units, and it was 25 of us. It was about 500 soldiers all together, and I believe it was like close to 100 men out there with over 300 females in the middle of the desert at 120 degrees at 12 noon. It was a different heat though. Not a whole lot of humidity, just that sun. So you have to protect yourself from the sun. You didn't get the humidity like you do here in the States. Sandstorms coming through. And when a sandstorm comes, it's just like you going outside in a snow blizzard with small rocks coming down on you. That's all. Moving across the desert. They used to send us big Tide bottles over there, and we wash our clothes in these big old drum buckets by hand and hang them up on a line that we rigged together. And they used to dry stiff as a board. But they was fresh though. Of course, once you get in fabric, cotton, it breaks down. It wasn't like it would be stiff the whole time you have it on. But when it dries, it would be able to stand up like a flag. And this is my last story I'm telling about just this particular part. One day when I was working, finally, okay, originally the colonel said no privates could work. Okay, cool. I can't work. But we had to stay in the back, me and my ranger buddy. He was a younger guy, Herman Davis. Shout out to my ranger buddy, Herman Davis, man. He was wild. Out of Florida. We was out there, and while everybody else was out working, we used to just sit in the compound, just monitoring the compound. That was our job. Make sure don't nobody come in, no tents, no make sure so we could go outside, play spades all day. He had bought him some of those Saudi cigarettes. He's smoking Saudi cigarettes, and I'm just sitting there looking at him laughing because he always had a story to tell. And one day, this is crazy. One day it rained, and it's funny because let me go back to Herman Davis. It's two stories, so I forgot. The first story, he was out there putting some fuel on the urinal stall. So what it was, you had to make shift these little poop bowls with cut drums. You know, you cut the drum about that last little line at the bottom, and that would be the stool. But then we had I was with an engineering unit, so we had makeshift some stalls for the toilet, and we had toilet seats, real toilet, something like a urinal, but made out of wood. And we would take that, slide the thing out the back, the little barrel out the back, filled with all kinds of bullshit. That was just my job, and we would have to go pour this mogas and diesel mix in it. And the mogas and diesel, you know, it's of course flammable, and we would have to light it. And I used to always tell him, man, step back before you light that shit. Step back. I got it, Ferg, man. I go, man, step back. Okay, one day he lit it. It started flaming. So the flame had went out. Well, it was going out. He said, but he thought it was out. I said, man, the flame ain't out. He's like, oh, it's out. I can't see it. Okay, the flame ain't out. So he took the fuel can, the 5-gallon metal can, and started pouring it into the little drum. Why the flame caught hold and attack? You know how gasoline, when no fuel burns, it burns in a tail. So it burnt back up to the can. The can jumped into flames. He tossing it up in the air. Now fuse splashing everywhere. Believe me, I'm standing back 50 feet. I knew not to be close. He almost burned his whole body up. He got some fuel on him, caught it a little bit of his uniform. After that, I don't think he ever lit another can at all. And we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun over there. A lot of fun. We got to go downtown Saudi Arabia. It was beautiful. Saudi Arabia, don't believe it. Don't believe what they show y'all. It's one of the most beautiful countries in the world. Downtown was beautiful. We used to eat McDonald's, Burger King, KFC. They used to have something called Hershey's chicken. That's when I got introduced. Some people call it the gyro. Some people call it the gyro. But over there is authentic. I used to watch the flies and the mosquitoes land on it and get cooked into it. So I never ate any because unlike in America, it used to sit in the window. And sometimes the windows didn't have no glass. Well, at least they would open it up because, again, we in Saudi Arabia. And at night, it would get real cool, maybe about 35, 40. So, you know, it'd be 120 in the daytime, and at night, it's almost, you know, freezing. Seem like it's a big difference from 120 to down there 35, 40 degrees. And we got opportunity to do that. Then we used to go gold shopping. They had gold shops. If you ever been to a big flea market, that's how it was times two. It was big. It wasn't in blocks because it was just on whatever space they had. It was big. I'm talking about big. It could probably take you 4 hours to walk around that whole thing with all them shops. It was nothing but gold shops. Nothing, and they had it on two sides of town because they prayed at certain times of the day. So they shut the side of the town down, and then they switch it to the other side. They allow one side to stay open, and one side shuts down. Then after 30 minutes, the other side shuts down for 30 minutes, and then they reconvene to back to business. But we used to go to these gold shops, and then what was it, like $3.75 for every American dollar? So I took $200 with me because again, I'm getting paid, no taxes taken out, hazardous duty pay. I think I'm balling. I bought me a bracelet, anchor, charm, I think a necklace for about $200. And I found out over there they don't deal in 24 karat, 14 karat. It's eight. Well, they only deal in 18 and 24 karat, no 14 karat. And I'm American. I'm like, man, we got they like no good. Too much iron and zinc or whatever they said. It wasn't all. It was less gold in that than anything. But the only thing about those, those 18, 24 karat, it's a little softer. But boy, they had some beautiful designs. Beautiful, beautiful. And we couldn't take cameras, so we couldn't take pictures of anything. So everything that I saw was just etched in my brain. Everything. One day it was a flood. And okay, listen, I was in the group, I was in a unit with some engineers. And they was infantry engineers, but they used to think they knew everything. So one day, it was cloudy. I said, man, it's gonna rain and get cold. Oh, Ferguson, it ain't gonna rain. It's just the clouds. It's what they do over it. I said, nah, man. I say the sun be out. Ain't no cloud. He tried to argue me up and down. Matter of fact, he took me to the first sergeant. Like, First Sergeant Ferguson is being disobedient, blah, blah, blah. And the first sergeant asked him, man, what did you do? He ain't asked me nothing. He tore a light fire into the sergeant's butt because I didn't do nothing wrong. I just voiced my opinion like, dude, it's going to rain. And they had the first tent. When you come down our compound, all your tents be in a row. It seemed like everything lined up exactly asymmetric. They had the first tent. All engineers, all infantry. They gun ho. I'm like, man, it's going to rain. And it was a little slope. I'll never forget, we came out of breakfast. I said, man, it's going to rain and we're going to get flooded. Because we were sitting on a slope and our tents was down in the slope. And it was hard desert. It wasn't soft. It was like fucking rocks. I'm like, okay. Nah, Ferguson, it ain't gonna rain. If it do rain, we'll be all right. Let me tell you something. By the time it stopped raining, their tent, it was about 6 of them. Their tent was filled with about 9 inches of water. They had the only tent that got flooded. You walked in there, stuff was floating. I looked at my tent, everything was dry. Because I always followed the protocols of what the training said. I put everything up on a high space. We had these cots. So my cot, I don't know, maybe a foot and a half, 18, 20 inches off the ground. I'm gonna put all my stuff on the cot every time I went out. So just in case, if I saw any type of clouds, I'm putting it over. None of my stuff got wet. We had to have a backhoe come in and dig out a trench in the middle of our base camp. A backhoe had to come in and dig it out so the water could run off the compound. It was just sitting there in their tent. We was in the rain with sandbags. Listen, you ain't never felt no sandbag. Your ass is lucky. Because in the military, there's endless number of sandbags. You can fill sandbags for 5 days and still have 5 days left of worth of sandbags. And you would place it around the bottom of your tent. Now, if you go camping, if you think about going camping, you make sure you put your tent up on high ground and you take a little trench, maybe find the lowest point of the high ground, and you make a little trench around your tent and you dig a trench downhill on the lowest point. So when that water hits your tent and roll off to the ground, it'll roll out the back or the front, whichever way it is, whichever point is the lowest point. That's where your exit point is. And to take the little dirt that you use, what we used to do, we would take the little dirt that we would just dig out of the ground to make the trench and throw it on top of the tent on the outside so it can sort of seal it down. Sort of make the tent, whatever was at the bottom of the tent, sort of touch the ground because you don't want to really have any gaps in that in case you get some backflow of water. But if you dig your trench deep enough, wide enough, maybe about the width of your hand is all you need, you'll be okay. Yeah, you'll be okay with that. But again, what does that all have to do with the subject? When I took a chance on myself, it changed my life. I started to see a lot of what was going on, that what's going on now back then. I used to tell my friends, they didn't believe me. America's the greatest country in the world. Yeah. Are you involved in that being great? Ain't nobody gonna do nothing to America. Yeah. Was you around in 9/11 when they hijacked the planes and the president was in school reading books to some little white kids? He ain't come to the neighborhood and read the books to little JoJo now. He went over, and then when they told him, he just sat there. He didn't run out of there with any urgency. Ain't that odd? But, just my experience. So again, are you ready for the challenge? Are you ready to take that leap of faith? Are you tired of looking at yourself in the mirror? Are you tired of disappointment, letdowns? Now is the time. Ladies, please hit the like, share, subscribe to Trey Ferguson, the player coach. Ladies and gentlemen, the like, share, subscribe to Trey Ferguson, the players coach. The mountain. It's never going to move until you attack the mountain. Until you get up there and you start navigating how to work around it. You start improvising. Are you preparing yourself for the mountain? Have you prepared yourself for the mountain, but you just keep everything packed up? You just got it all packed up just in case. Because when you pack, that represents movement. We don't just pack our bags to sit around. We pack our bags to make a move. To make a move. Who's willing to make that move? Who's ready to face the challenge? Because again, if we go back to the sun is rising. It's moving. The sun is not waiting on us. The sun is moving. It is saying move. The sun is saying let's go. That's what the sun is saying. It's waiting on you to give word. The sun is waiting. Believe me, it's your time to go. The sun is waiting. Who's willing to make the move? Let me get out of the way so you can see the sun. Who's willing to make the move? Are you ready? Are you still afraid? Now is the time. The sun rotates around the earth. Some people would say that the earth is flat. I mean, I don't believe it. It's just hard, because how would you get the wind if something the force of the clouds and I don't know, the atmospheric pressure and all that, it wouldn't move. And if you notice, clouds they swerve, they go north, south, east, and west. They never go in the same direction at one time. And if the Earth is flat, spinning around like a record, then I don't know. Where is the water? How would the water is the water sticking out of the bottom of the flat ocean? That's just my I could be wrong. Is the water? Think about it. Is the oceans when you if you can get up under the flat Earth? Is the oceans a cup of water, a big ass cup of water? Hey, I'm not a scientist, but I just don't see how the Earth could be flat and you got oceans on two separate coasts. They probably don't even know how vast the oceans are, really. You got lakes, you got rivers, and it's all sitting on a flat record, a flat surface. It's just hard for me to believe it. I believe that the earth is round. So why not take a trip around the earth? As long as you prepare yourself for it. Why not put yourself in situations where you can just change the dynamics of where you are? Now is the time. You got talent. You could probably run faster than everybody else, jump higher than everybody else, stronger than everybody else. You can draw. Got some nice little drawings of yourself or little pieces that you create. You can paint. I always admired painters anyway. I'm like, how in the hell can they take that brush and paint all that good stuff? If you're like me, you're heavy handed. It look good in your head. You get out there, your hands be like, that's too heavy. And my hand ain't that delicate. I had a son. Well, I ain't have a son. My son, his ass, delicate hands. Oh, he can, man, that dude is delicate hands. Makes the fluffiest eggs ever. I don't know how he did it. I couldn't make a fluffy egg to save my life, but his eggs, woo wee, can use a pair of tweezers like a surgeon. Where are you at today? When the sun rises, where will you be? Will you be standing still, or are you ready to move? You don't have to let nobody know you're moving. Just move. But when people realize that you're moving, be willing to accept it. Be willing to accept. What are you saying accept? Be willing to accept the criticism. Be willing to accept it. Because it's your move. It's nobody else's move. It's your journey. It's nobody else's journey. It's your faith. It's nobody else's faith. So don't be afraid to move on it. Now is the greatest time for your life. Now is the greatest time. Things are changing in America. All of the resources that we cry and say we need or we don't get enough of, it's about to get worse than that. It's about to get worse than that. And if you're 21 years old, you can go anywhere in the world. That's the age when they say, well, if you look at when they heard the saying, the world is your oyster, that's the age when it's really your oyster. It's yours to do whatever you want to do with it, good or bad. good or bad. You gotta be willing to move on it. You gotta be willing to. You cannot stand still. You cannot stand still. I had a cousin when I was a kid. He was like a little brother to me. I had a brother. Well, I got a brother, but he was like a little brother to me because he liked to do everything I like to do. If I was climbing trees, he was climbing with me, and he was 2 years younger than me. If I wanted to play football, he playing football too. His nickname was Lawrence McCutcheon. They used to call me the Juice. OJ, yep, OJ, because he ain't do it. So that's what I say. But that's another story. And we had went to Chicago for the summer. Shout out to Union Park, McNeely Park, South Side, Lower West Side. And when we came back that summer, he got sick. It was towards the end of the summer. He went swimming and he came home and he was telling his mother he was sick. So the next day she took him to the hospital and he never left. He never left. He stayed in there, I think, 2 or 3 months, 3 months. And that was my buddy. I was 10 years old. That was my buddy. If I went somewhere, he was right there with me because we lived like a block apart. So I could walk over his house and we be equivalent of 2 or 3 miles away from home. And I think he was 9 and I was 11. That's how far we used to roam away from home. Was it dangerous? Hell yeah. But we understood, you don't bother nobody. You don't take something that's not yours. And if somebody say, hey, little boy, come here, you run like hell. You run. You don't sit there and be like, what do you want? No, you run. And that's how we move. But when he passed that later that year, I went to see him in the hospital. My mother took me. It was funny about my parents. They never really forced stuff on me that they felt like I knew it was bad. So one day my mother asked me, I said, yeah, I think I want to go see him. So she took me up there, and when I get there, he's not talking. He can't talk. But he's looking at me. And I'm just, cousin, what's up, man? I'm talking as a kid. I still remember. I don't know exact words I was saying to him, but I still remember it. And he never said nothing to me. I didn't ask nobody why he didn't speak. I didn't ask my parents, the doctor. I just know he wasn't talking to me. And I felt some kind of way. It wasn't anger, it was sadness, like, man, he ain't my cousin no more. He's not the person that I know. So I go home, I don't know. I don't know. It might have been a month, a couple weeks later, he passed. And when he passed, the crazy part about it is everybody was preparing to go to the funeral. My parents never, ever, ever asked me, did I want to go to the funeral? Never. It's 1 hour. They never asked me that. They never say, hey, the funeral's coming up. I ain't know no date. I can't tell y'all the date. I can't tell y'all where it was at. I can't tell y'all what he had on in the casket. I can't tell y'all none of that. Because when that moment came, they never asked me about going to the funeral. I guess they could see it. I feel it in my spirit or something. Because, I ain't really, when he left, I feel like my best friend was gone. He was gone. So after he passed, I never really attached to somebody like, oh, that's somebody I got to be with every day. I had friends all over the city, and I used to go see somebody each and every day or every other day. You a kid, you ain't moving around like that, but I learned how to ride a bike early. And I would ride my little bike, I don't know, equivalent of probably 10 miles away from home. And if it was a Saturday after a football game, I have on my football pants and ride that far to go play some more football with some friends that was on my football team. And then when I stayed in the neighborhood, I had my neighborhood friends. I stayed two on the east end side of town, and I lived right next to a park. It was my house, an alley, a church, and the church was vacant church. I can't tell you about the church. There's too much going on behind the church. But then the park, I can look out my backyard and see the basketball court. And if people was playing, I would get my stuff on and go over, and I'll give them the business. So when he passed, it just made me think and move a little different. I felt like I was on my own for a while, and I am the middle child. You know, I have 5 sisters, my mother, my brother. He's a twin of a girl. You know, my brother and sister, they twins. Then there's 2 more sets of twins under them. Me in the middle, and a sister 3 years older than me, and sister 5 years older. So I was on my own after he left. And I had a great time being on my own because I knew then that not to really invest in one person, you know. I mean, if somebody felt like they want to try to bully me or push me, as they call it, I'm just saying what the terms they use, because you wasn't gonna bully me. You wasn't gonna do it. You can talk crazy about me, call me light, bright, high yellow, mellow yellow, oh yeah, all that. And I embraced it. And I was just cute enough for the girls. That's all that mattered. I didn't care what guys thought of me. That's how I grew up. I ain't commenting on no man. He don't look better than me anyway. But that was just my thought. You know, that was just me. It gave me confidence as a kid. You know, so I just took it upon myself. My father was the craziest person I knew. My father was alcoholic. He'd be drunk. Oh my God. His biggest thing was family, family, family. Okay, I understand that. He used to sit in my room half the night, crying and drinking. I'm like, this dude right here. And this is as a kid. As I got to be a teenager, I used to look at him like, come on, man. Get out of my room, man. You crying. Get out. And I didn't know at the time that he was dealing with some issues with his father. My grandfather was a pastor. My grandfather never came to visit me, or my siblings. But my father was there. So I really didn't pay attention to my grandfather because my father was there. My father accomplished a lot. He never talked about it, never said what he was doing. He never said anything. I didn't find out till he retired. And he retired at age 60. And all the stories he used to tell me, it started to come to life as I started to get into my late teens. I would do something. Me and my friends, boy, we used to buy alcohol as a teenager. Yes, going to the liquor store at 17, 18 years old with our money and purchase some Brass Monkey, some gin or something, with some jungle juice. All that was that, some Canadian Mist with some ginger ale. Here we are drinking that. And I couldn't even drink. My stomach couldn't hold it. I couldn't drink nothing straight. Everything was a mix. You know the fruity drinks that women say a man shouldn't be drinking? Shit. I'm not your man then, because I'm going to drink me a fruity drink. My stomach couldn't handle it. And I'm not going to force it down my throat knowing that I can't handle it. You're not going to make me sick just because you made me alcoholic. My daddy was alcoholic, so he had 2 friends that died from, well, don't let me say died, that passed from drinking too much. So I knew then, like, no, that's not going to be me. Now, if it had them little trees growing on it, yeah. Me and my friends, oh yeah, let's do that. And we did that respectfully. That was a weekend thing. Monday through Friday was about school, at least showing up. I know guys that didn't miss a day of school from elementary through high school. We wanted to go to school because that's where all your friends were. And then you had to show them that you could read and write. We would have competitions of who would get the best in each class. And it had nothing to do with adults pushing us. We was just built that way, I guess. And then when we'd be in the community playing basketball, we wanted to win. You couldn't sit there and run your mouth talk about how good you were. You'd had to race somebody, maybe everybody. You couldn't talk about how good your basketball game was. You had to get these jumpers in your mouth. You had to taste it, but that was a different time. And we used to have our little fights and make up 2 days later and be the best of buddies. It made us a little stronger as we start venturing out into the world. All of those things that I dealt with my family made me stronger, made me push a little harder. My parents were just regular old working parents. Mother worked at GE, father worked at Louisville Slugger. That was it. A lot of my friends, similar to today, grew up with single mothers. Those mothers was the bomb. They were good looking. They were tough, smart, and nice. Almost all of them were nice. We would go over there and hang out on the porch and be doing our little thing. Their mama be just as nice, but guess what? She wasn't nowhere involved. She ain't come out there saying, hey, you gonna do that, y'all can do that. No. They wouldn't be nowhere involved. As long as wasn't nobody starting no trouble, we party all night, man. Party all night. And as I got older, into my 20s, it just became a little different. Oh, I gotta tell y'all this one story. When I was a teenager, I tell my wife this crazy story, and she laugh at me all the time. I was dating this girl. And in dating her, I think one day she pissed me off. And I think my mother saw it. Because again, my father was alcoholic. He used to be out in the streets. Or if he wasn't at work, my father, on weekends, he'd be out of it all weekend. So one day, I guess my mother saw me upset about the little girl I was dating. Man, she ran me down the street. Now, I ain't never seen my mother run, but she ran me down the street. I didn't run down the street. I was walking, and she ran behind me and caught up with me. And I was sitting over on this little stoop we used to sit on all the time. And boy, she was letting me have it. Don't you let no little do this. You a man. And I'm looking at her like, but mama, my feelings. She like, I don't give a damn about your damn feelings, boy. If you start doing that, your ass will be getting ran over all your life. And I sat there, and she didn't say nothing. My mother, she didn't talk a lot unless she knew it was something serious. And at that moment, I knew she knew it was serious. She saw something I didn't see. And because I sat there, she said a few other words, but I don't remember all. She was just talking about, you don't let no little bee do. So I'm like, oh, man. So I sat there and I was like, man, she right. What am I doing getting all crazy over this girl? I know I look good. I think I was, about 14, 15. You see him young, just like the young relationships y'all have. I was too young. But my mother wasn't having it. She wasn't having it. She wasn't going to let me be out here and just be willy-nilly. And when the girl came over, you had to sit in the living room on the porch. Wasn't no going to nobody's room, shutting no doors. My mama didn't sit up in the house with her little booty shorts on, her little stomach out. I don't think none of our mothers did back then. You go in somebody's house, their mama go have on that one piece or some regular clothes. And you ain't gonna stay in there too long. Your ass got about good 30 minutes tops. You ain't watching no TV, playing no games, which at that time, all your games was outside anyway. Hell, everybody was walking around with little tight ass muscles and shit. The girls, everybody. It was a few people overweight, but hell, they had hard fat. Them motherfucking go just as long as the skinny people. You know, it was just a different time. It was a different atmosphere. Because we came out when the sun rose, we was outside. We was getting that vitamin D in our skin. And everybody used to sit around and think and talk about, man, when I get older, what I'm gonna do. This is what I want to do. And whether or not we accomplished those specific dreams and goals, we had a plan to do something. We had a plan. We just moved. We didn't care. We was moving. We was coming out of high school. They giving us the vocational schools. Everybody was coming out with trades, going to work, making $35,000, $40,000 a year. Because contrary to y'all belief, with inflation, it's about the same. Ain't nothing different. You could come out of high school in 1986 and get a $35,000 a year job at 18, 19 years old, living with your mama, paying off the house, buying you a new car, all of that. And you understood financial literacy. You knew that you didn't want to spend your money on everything. You wanted to save a little. And those of us that also went to college, we went to college, most went to college with a purpose, because at least 80% of people who went to college, well, 80% of us, let me break it down. 80% of us would graduate high school, another 18% would get a GED. So that's 98%. About 50% was getting a bachelor's degree, 40% was getting a master's, 30% was getting a PhD. That's African Americans, 30%, and we took education serious. We some of us wasn't even the brightest students, but when they went to college, a light bulb switched on. They realized they were just as smart as the students that went to the Catholic schools and all of that. A lot of people really found themselves as they got away from home, as they moved to do something. And those that didn't go to college found jobs. They were able to retire. I'm meeting so many of my friends who are now in their mid 50s, late 50s, are retiring from their job after 30 years. You've been on a job since you was 19, 20 years old, retiring. That's the greatest feeling in the world. Because when I look back and we have conversations, everybody used to talk about, man, I wanted to do something. I didn't want the same thing as an adult as I had as a child. And really, we didn't even know we wasn't poor until you went into the neighborhood with the big fancy houses. And then I started to realize being poor is just a mindset. Now, you can not have money, but that doesn't mean that you're broke. Because broke is a root word to me for broken. Now, if you're broken, yeah, the glass is always half empty. Oh man, it's worse. Everybody, I can't, they do this to me and they do that. You'll never get out of that if you keep that mindset going into your age of wisdom. But if you understand your condition where you are and you take the necessary steps to move forward, whatever it is, if you want to go to college with intentions. Study. When you get there, fuck 3-4 hours a day. Find you some of those brainiacs, all these new technological inventions. That's where you can invent it at while you're in college. You can't invent that shit sitting around smoking every day. You can't invent that shit talking on YouTube every day. Especially when you're young. You go put your, that's one option. Everybody ain't made for college. You right. Try the military. Try all of those branches. You can get free money to go to college later. You can get those skills. Not everybody goes to war. Now, I wouldn't recommend signing up for anything with combat or infantry, because your ass will be out there in the woods. Even when you ain't at war, you guess what? You over in the woods like it's seen behind. You moving around in them trees, setting up coordinates and firing off rounds of mortar. Or you can be in the air conditioning because you can be an admin. I met a soldier the other week, in his human resources, a male, E5, been in 4 years. So when he gets out, he can have a cool 75, 80, straight out the military. I don't know. He may be at re-enlist, but he's 24 right now. Let's just say he do another 6, 7 years, get his rank A7, close to E8. I don't know. I think they make him, I don't know, close to 45, 50. And on the military base, being in the military, those type of incomes are almost, I wouldn't say double, but you can add another, I would say another 30,000 at minimum on top of that, just based off what you get while you're in the service. You get free housing if you stay in the barracks, especially being single. Only thing you really got to pay for is cable, I think. Yeah, something like cable, internet, because now everything is going digital. But you ain't got to eat off base. They got 3 meals a day because the cooks are cooking every day. 3 good meals. It's almost like going to what is that? A Golden Corral or something almost. I don't know to that extent, but you're gonna get some of everything. 2 or 3 meats on the menu. I mean, they feed you well, and you're getting paid to train from day one. You go to basic training, that's 10 weeks, 12, 10 weeks. So it's 2.5 months. You're not really spending no money. Then you go to your school, which is called AIT. What is it? Army Intensive Training. You're studying and learning what you'll be doing when you get to your regular duty station every day from morning. Every day you'll apply it in the classroom. You may have to read. And some of us, you can't read to yourself. You got to read that shit out loud. Because when you read to yourself, that should get mixed up in your head. Read it out loud. Let the story come to you. You'll read it, and then in the afternoon, you'll go apply it. Sometimes you read, then you apply it. You'll go practice everything that you just read. You'll see thousands of demonstrations. So if you don't get it, you're about slow as a box of rocks. But eventually it'll click, and it becomes secondary. And let's just say you read it, and you go try it, and you fail, they're going to take you back and let you read some more and figure out where you messed up. Similar to what we need to apply in our lives. When you mess up, sometimes go back. Once you recognize where you messed up, admit that you messed up, and then start taking the necessary steps to move forward. You have to admit first, though. You got to admit that you messed up. That's the big secret. So as you can do that, then as time continues, you'll start to see a little light. But you have to be willing to put in that work. And I understand what I'm saying. Probably not a lot of people don't want to hear it. But the message ain't for you. It's for those who are in a particular place in life. Y'all been on these YouTube streets listening to the complaints about the women's and the men's, the young, the old. But really, it just comes down to you. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like, share, subscribe button to Trey Ferguson, the Player Coach. Hit the like, share, subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen, to Trey Ferguson, the Play Coach. So what do you do? What do you do? Here we are. Here we are. I want to read something to y'all. Just a little something I read sometimes just to, to ensure myself that I'm at least on the right path to try to be better. One thing that made me want to do this is that, each of us, when we get to a place in life, when we won't change and we won't change for the better, for ourselves, for our families, we have to start setting the stage. You have to start setting the stage for your next move. Take advantage of the technology. Do some research on what it is that you're interested in. Look at it from all 4 angles. Don't just focus on somebody who may not have been successful as they wanted to be. And they'll tell you all those bad stories about why not to do it. And then you'll talk to them and give them all your great ideas. And then guess what? Next thing you know, they overdoing it. So you have to prepare yourself. And you prepare yourself in silence. Meaning you don't have to go out and blabbermouth it to everybody that this is what you're doing. Just do it. Take your notes down. Once you read up on it more, just practice it a little bit more. See if it'll start coming together. And as the story continues to grow, it'll start coming together. I want to read y'all this quote by James Thurber. It states, "Let us not look back on in anger or forward with fear, but around in awareness." Let us not look back in anger or forward with fear, but around in awareness. We've been holding on to stuff. It's time to let it go. I ain't say forget it. I said let it go. Get it off your chest. Get it off your shoulders. Get it out your body. So you can release that anger, the self-doubt. You can't be moving around in fear. You can't be afraid. I would be more afraid to stand in the same space that I am in for the next 4 years than to continue to try to move forward, at least taking the steps. Because between now and the next 4 years, my life could change even more, even drastically. I never thought I would be here in this space. I didn't know where it would take me. I still don't know where it's going to take me. I just know how to continue to move forward. I just know that. It's just part of what I had to do. It wasn't up to my parents to push me. It didn't have to do with any friends around me. I just knew I had to do something. And now is the time for some of us to do something. Now's the time to act. We cannot sit and watch these next 5 or 6 years go by and we still standing in the same spot. If it affects one of us, it's going to affect all of us. We won't be able to divest. If you got the big lips and the big nose like me, oh, we all together. Don't think you're going to stand over in another line. You're going to be right in the same line. Are we going to stand up for ourselves? Protect our family and loved ones? Or are we going to stand there with our hands in our pocket? And again, what I'm saying, it ain't for everybody. I don't expect for everybody to want to move because you're good where you are. You're good where you are. But if you're not quite sure, now's the greatest time. You're 21 years old, can't nothing stop you but yourself. Not even family. Not even family. Best friend, nobody. But I do know one thing. You cannot stand still in the same spot for the next 20 years. By default, you will be forced to move. By default. Because we can see the changes coming right before our eyes. These immigrants don't come over here for nothing. They're not coming. And I know it's some smart brothers out there, smart sisters out there. I know it is. It's time for the world to hear your voice too. Just take the steps. Believe me, it'll all happen. It'll all happen for you. You ever heard anybody say this? I can't change. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. Somebody else would accept me for me. You ever heard that before?
And you always hear it when somebody's angry. Somebody get to a place of anger. This is who I am. I ain't changing. By default, you change anyway. If it's something that you care about, you change. It ain't got nothing to do with somebody else. Well, technically it does, but by default, you're going to move because a loved one will affect you. Somebody you believe loved you, it will affect you. It will make you move. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but you will move, you will act. And this is where we stand. This is where I stand every day. Like, man, I got to move. I got to do something. I got to do something. Every once in a while, I got to get out. I just get in my truck. I try to hit 10 spots and come back home. But I know I have to move. And if you're young, now's the greatest time. Greatest time. And this goes for males and females. Y'all see the dynamics that are happening here in America. Unless you plan on divesting from America, moving all your assets, because you know we like to hold on to stuff. A lot of us still got clothes we done had since since everybody was going to Freaknik. Still got it in your closet talking about I'm going to get back into it. No, we ain't. You ain't getting back into it. It's just holding up space, clutter in your life, because you keep looking through that to get to the stuff you can finally fit. So you have to be willing to let some things go and change for the better. You have to do it. Your life is at stake. I got high blood pressure. Can I keep eating salty stuff? No, and I don't. I probably haven't had salt on something, I don't know, intentionally. I didn't. If it was on, I didn't know it. But as far as me putting it on myself, a good, I don't know, good 50 years. I'm saying 50. A good 20 years now. A good 20 years. Because I know it's bad for me. I have to watch things with sodium in it. My mother had high blood pressure, so of course it's going to be passed down. My father, before he passed, strong as an ox. Really. This guy had, what did he have? 8 heart attacks and 2 strokes. He had cancer twice. 8 heart attacks. He had 8 baby heart attacks and walked himself to the hospital. He had 2 strokes. You couldn't tell. He still worked up until September of last year, 2023. He passed away in January of 24. "80 years old, exactly 25 years older than me." So now is the time, ladies and gentlemen. This is your time to move on it. Write it down. Evaluate it. And go try it out. If you can paint, paint. If you can draw, draw. If you can write poetry, write. If you can fix it, fix that shit. Should nothing in your house be squeaking. If you can draw, just hang your stuff up after you finish it. Paint, everything. Just hang it up in your house, in your room. Just hang it up. Let yourself see it. But then move on it. Share it with the world. We don't, gifts are not for us. It's for others. It's not for us. So are you ready to share yourself with the world? If not, continue to set the stage. The stage can always be set. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like, share, subscribe button with Trey Ferg, the player coach. Again, the like, share, subscribe button to Trey Ferg, the player coach. And back to the show. So, regardless of where you're at in your life, remember the sun is going to shine. The sun will continue to shine as long as you're moving. Shout out to my man JT, What We Know podcast, because the life you live, it ain't for you. It ain't for you. You would say, how is that? Because someone else gave you life. They afforded you the opportunity to be here. Two people, whether they was in love, making love, or just clapping cheeks. You here. You here. And now that you're here, it's your opportunity. It's your opportunity to again face the mountain. It's your opportunity to face the mountain. Take it head on. Look at it, fight it. Put your boots on, put your backpack on. But let's go in order. You put your shirt on. Well, you got your underclothes on. You got your long johns on, top and bottom, wet, waterproof if possible. You got your good, durable clothes on, some water-resistant clothes. You got your nice water-resistant socks. You got your boots, water-resistant, handle all weathers. You might have to have some spikes on. You might have, you throw your overcoat on. You got your nice, warm, insulated coat. You got some nice gloves and mittens. Sometimes you just need the mittens if you know you don't need your hands. But you got your hood. You got your toboggan, is what we used to call it. It's a stretch cap. You got all ready. You got all your supplies. You got your meals ready to eat. You got you some backup underwear, and you got you some backup socks, and you got your hygiene products. You got your little tools you need to sort of navigate the terrain. And you get all that stuff prepared, and you got your compass ready in case you get lost. You need to be able to turn back home. You prepare yourself, and you just going. You head out on your path. You got your favorite music in your ear, but you gotta head out on your path. And then you facing the mountain. And you've gotten to that point where the opportunity is right there for you to grab. Are you gonna climb that mountain? Because remember, it's only a short period of time that you have to climb. The mountain is only so high. Because once you get to the top, of the mountain, everything else is downhill. Everything else is downhill. You're going to go to the peak of your climb. You can't climb no more. You done got to the top of the mountain. You done put in all that good work. You got all that good footage, all that good memory of your climb. The adventures, how you had to avoid the warthog, the grizzly bear, the mountain lion. You done avoided all of that. The ticks, the snakes, the mosquitoes. You done avoided all of that. And you get to the top of the mountain, then you're able to look down and look out over the horizon. And you always look back where you started from, like, man, I started 3 days ago. You probably can't even see as far as it took for you to get there. But you got there. And then you start feeling a little proud about yourself that you accomplished something. Like, man, I did it. How did I do it? But then you recall, man, I did what I needed to do. I took the necessary steps. So this is where we are. Because again, if we go back, the sun is rising. The sun is rising for you. You can't be afraid. Just like this little image I have, and I'm working on my technology. Remember, I'm Gen X, so all of this new age stuff is coming at me at a fast pace, and my brain is moving slower, so I got to walk myself through it. But I'm accepting the challenge. I'm not afraid to crawl before I walk, and I ain't afraid to walk before I run, because I know when I finish putting in the work, I can look back on something and be proud of that I put in the work and share it with the world and share it with others who may want to know. I've been blessed. I've been blessed despite everything I went through. Family, friends, parents. Well, not my mother. My mother, she didn't do anything. She was a saint. She could cook. Oh my God. Everything. I seen my mother skin a fish. I thought she was the best ever. She gutted and skinned a big old catfish, probably about 2 feet long. My grandfather used to go fishing. Could make all the sweets, the cakes, the pies, but her favorite was lemon meringue. That was her favorite. Sweet potato. Don't let nobody eat no pumpkin. She used to make a Milky Way cake with real Milky Ways in it and put some like little Snickers on the icing. That was mine. People in my family probably got a piece. I was eating that whole thing. Barbecue. Oh my God. That's how I learned how to grill. My mother. My father couldn't grill. My father couldn't boil water. But I watched my mother barbecuing. We sit out there at night. She be talking, tell me, well, I'll be talking. She be telling me, shut up. But I used to run my mouth, asked 1,000 questions. 1,000 questions. And as I got older, don't say nothing about my mother like it is today. Well, I don't know about today. Some of us don't even like our mothers. We talk about the bad stuff she did, but if she just put you in compromise, well, if it didn't jeopardize your health or your safety, everything else is just a learning tool. When it comes to health and safety of children, that's non-negotiable. But as far as just figuring things out, ain't no rule book for the best parent in the world. You're going to be in that position one day. If not for children, you're going to be in that position for yourself. How are you going to move differently to make your situation or outcome better? That's the trick. That's the trick. But if you focus on everything you didn't have or everything somebody didn't do for you when you was a kid, then you'll always stay stuck as a kid. You'll go 30 years and still be talking like a kid. Or you'll just look back at that and say, you know what? My foundation is stronger now. Nobody outside of the person that's already done that to me will ever do that to me again. I will always be aware of my surroundings. I will always look at things for what they are, the truth. Because if you look at it with an open mind and truth, you'll always be successful in it. And just understand, some things do not happen overnight. Some things do, but some things do not. Some things, it requires time. It requires putting in the work, the study, going to your study, meaning no distractions, 2 or 3 hours a day, and eventually it will become second nature to you. So With that, let me see who's in my chat, man. Dr. Frizzle Frost, it is what it is. TV, salute to you, Miss Randy. Next level, mofo. I appreciate you, the drip show, man. Listen to me, man. I appreciate y'all, man. All of y'all inspirations in what I do. And I don't know what I'm doing, but all y'all inspirations in it. All y'all part of it. All of y'all. So, again, I'm going to try to, as soon as I get this technology thing, I'm going to keep working on it. Then it's going to become second nature. And I'm going to keep moving and grooving in this space. I'm going to keep doing my best to give somebody something to move on. And I'll change it up every, try to put something different every week. I just wanted to, talk about, just trying to get the ball rolling for your life. And again, I don't know all the answers. I don't know all the answers. But with this new technology, y'all can speed up the process. It won't take you 20 years. It might take you 5, but you got to put something in play. You got to focus on it. You have to. You cannot stand still. The world is moving. This is the greatest opportunity for anybody, especially people of color. But we got a short window, though. Got a short window. It's not going to stay open too much longer, especially with this new election coming up. Don't know who's going to be in office. Biden. Come on, man. Trump. Come on, man. Come on now. You take the lesser of two evils. Who's it going to be? But in the meantime, you can be moving. So when you start looking at things for what they are, you can change your life. You can change your life. I'm trying to tell you, it'll change your life. But you cannot move in fear. You cannot continue to focus on yesterday. You cannot do it. You cannot do it. You cannot continue to be angry about stuff that you've already survived. Those are your foundations. Those are your building blocks. I don't think nobody's walking around, especially nobody of color, I don't think nobody walking around with a damn straw house. Talking about, look at my nice, pretty straw house. No, you strong as hell. And everything that people say, everything that people do, if they're not directly doing it to you or directly saying it to you, don't let it stick to you. Don't let that stuff ruin your day. Because you know who you are. And everybody is not in the same space that you are when you're there. Everybody's not going in the same direction as you are when you're going. You just have to be willing to go. You can take baby steps until you feel comfortable, but you step it. And then when you feel comfortable enough, you can take big, giant ass leaps. And sometimes you can't jump with one foot. Sometimes you got to jump with both feet. Can't just, let me try it. No, you got to go with both feet. Because you're going to need both feet to support yourself. So if anybody have any questions for me at any point, please do not be afraid to ask questions. I will warn you first that if you want the best answer for yourself, I'll try to give you something. If I don't know it, I always don't mind looking it up for somebody to put them in the right direction. Like I said, I've been blessed in so many ways. I've been blessed. And I understand that part of my blessing is trying to bless others. Because everybody don't want it. Everybody don't want blessings. So, but I don't waste time on that though. I don't waste time on it. I can't get caught up in the semantics of socialization. I like to socialize, but I only socialize in truth and logic and safety. That's it. I'm not trying to be better than nobody because I'm not. I might look better than some of y'all, but that's about it. I ain't 6'9", 6'10", but I try to take care of myself. Money, I ain't gonna talk about that. Because remember, I'm retired at 55 and ain't gotta work another day in my life at all. I don't have to get back out on the streets. I ain't going nowhere. My wife want to leave me, guess where she going? She taking her ass to the basement. Because she leave, I'm changing locks. She can't come back. And the worst thing y'all want is for old Trey Ferg, the player coach, to be back out on the streets, single. I would take no mercy. But I'm just talking with that. I ain't gonna be out there anyway. I ain't gotta worry about it. So, listen, I appreciate everybody who was listening in. You know, if I said something that is beneficial, hopefully, you know, you can use it for yourself or apply it to somebody else. You know, let somebody else, you know, listen in on it. I can't, you know, I didn't really talk about nothing specific because everybody has different goals, everybody has different dreams, and everybody has a different path. As long as you're moving, that's all that counts. Give yourself some grace. Admit when you're wrong. Continue to find different avenues to make things better. There's no one way for success. Is your success money? Is your success peace of mind? Is your success possessions? Is your success helping others? Whatever it looks like to you, just put the vision into action and let life paint its picture for you. And when you get to the top of the mountain, it'll probably be one of the greatest accomplishments that you can take pride in. So again, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Trey Ferg at the Player Coach. Just giving a little words to those who want to listen. Please hit the like, share, subscribe button. Again, to Trey Ferg, the Player Coach. Hit the like, share, subscribe button to Trey Ferg, the Player Coach. And ladies and gentlemen, I am out of here. Thank you all for watching. Again, thank everybody who was in the chat, everybody that supported, man. I appreciate y'all, man. For real, man. We in this thing, man. 2024 and beyond. Peace.